Steve Morse. He is a fair dinkum goat, that man. Now, the thing that Steve Morse can do better than any other guitarist, I reckon, is his alternate picking. He can alternate pick at hyper speed with perfect accuracy any note, like arpeggios across the strings. It doesn't have to be linear. He doesn't need sweep picks or finger taps or any of that stuff. I'm sure he can do it, but his alternate picking is ludicrous. It is second to none. And that's what this exercise is all about. Now, I learnt this exercise when I was a little kid out of Guitar Player magazine. It was one of the first exercises that I learnt and committed to memory, although I'm not going to swear that is 100% accurate. That's how I remember it from all those years ago. It was a long time ago. Anyway, let's have a look at it. Let's break it down. So it starts off with, which is the 4 notes out of the E minor chord. What we've got going on here that makes this exercise so tricky and so valuable, it's in triplets. So we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and So every second beat, we're starting on an up pick. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Second chord in this thing is an F sharp. And that's the hardest phrase in the entire thing, I reckon. So it's just the notes out of that F sharp chord. But again, picking down, up, down, up, down, up, all the way through. The next chord is a B. Then we've got an E minor shape here, which is basically the notes out of that chord. In fact, Steve probably played it that way. I can't remember if there was tabs for this thing. This is probably my understanding of the notes, the dots that were on the page. Then this, that's a B7 shape. Then an E minor here. And that's another thing where we're reversing the pattern each time and it's 1 note per string. So that's actually really tricky too. Then we've got a B7 here. Then we're back to our E minor. Then B7 here again. Then E minor, another inversion. That's just like the middle 4 strings. Then a B7 again. Then back to this E minor. Change it to major with a flat 7th. Then we've got an A minor, F, D7, G, C, B, E minor. So that's the whole thing. So let's do it at a nice slow tempo. Let's do it at like 80 BPM so you can play along and get to know this pattern. So if that's still a little bit quick, just use the YouTube controls to slow it down even more. There's another little tricky thing that happens a couple of times in there is a finger roll going from the E minor to the B. So the third finger we've got to roll across there. And then in the next E minor inversion, so we've got the tip of the first finger there, rolling back and forth. So there's lots of tricky stuff in this thing. There's tons to be learned from it. It's, I find it really hard. And you know, at the start there, I did it at 120, which has just always been a thing. I've always tried to get any exercises I do up to 120 BPM, but I'm sure if we heard Steve Morse do it, he'd double that. He's nuts. Have a listen to his playing on a song called Too Many Notes, which is basically another version of that exercise. It's picking the notes out of standard chords at a ridiculous tempo. Anyway, please thumb one in softly for me and subscribe if you like. Throw some support my way any way you can. Help me keep the channel going and help me be able to sit here and show you stuff.